In a quiet, high-end office in D.C., floor-to-ceiling windows frame a city of sterile marble and expensive air filtration. A soft-spoken curator speaks of historical preservation with the surgical intensity of a man who understands that the raw, vital details of a revolution are usually lost to the passage of decades. He does not seek artifacts from the 1940s. He seeks the content of the present. Across a mahogany table, he slides a sleek, heavy-stock brochure for the Museum of American Fascism. This is not a cautionary look back at mid-century Europe. It is a vision of a glorious homecoming to an era of decisive governance. The curator speaks with a calm, almost reverent pride about a wing dedicated to patriot federal police and the optimization of history itself. He offers a chillingly transactional deal: tax deductions for the donation of DNA swabs or footage of unwanted aliens, a software update for a nation where fundamental rights are treated as bugs to be removed. This curator is not a theatrical villain, but a symptom of the breakdown in the normal machinery of the state. When the plumbing of governance fails, a vacuum is created. The current crisis is one of state capacity, the nation's immune system. It is the basic ability of a government to function, to execute, and to heal itself. Today, the national immune cell count is dangerously low. Beyond the daily headlines and the noise of social media lies a structural decay that makes a museum of the present seem not just plausible, but logical. This decay is visible in the gears that have stopped turning, the innovation that has stalled, and core institutions that are breaking under the weight of their own inertia. In the American Rust Belt, a veteran vocational teacher stands in a workshop where the machinery is older than his students. He has spent 40 years in a town that once fueled the global steel industry, and as he records a video of the leaking roof, a flash of quiet indignity crosses his face, a momentary hesitation before exposing the shame of his school's decline. He watches as school board meetings, once focused on curriculum, devolve into ideological screaming matches. The town's bridges are weight-restricted, and its water mains are bursting. Yet the collective energy of the leadership is consumed by a cultural war of purity. When a nation prioritizes ideological combat over the efficiency of its own gears, the machinery of civilization eventually stops turning. State capacity is not about the size of government, but about its competence. It is the ability to collect legislated taxes, pave budgeted roads, and keep bridges from collapsing. This capacity is often noticed only when it is gone, during the breaking of levees in New Orleans, the intelligence failures before the Iraq War, or the logistical nightmare of the initial COVID-19 response. These are moments when the levers of the state are pulled and nothing happens, because the connection has been severed. This disconnection stems from two distinct movements that, while despising each other, have worked in tandem to break the machine. On the right, historical skepticism of government has morphed into a toxic contempt that views the state as an inherent enemy of freedom. This ideology seeks to hollow out the state from the inside by cutting funding, freezing hiring, and demonizing civil service. The result is a kludgeocracy, a leviathan by proxy. A tiny number of civil servants are forced to manage a sprawling, hidden network of private contractors, creating a system held together by duct tape and hope. In this model, updating a critical system like the Department of Veterans Affairs IT becomes an astronomical expense. Multiple layers of subcontractors take their cuts, responsibility is diffused until it vanishes, and the veterans are left with a system that remains fundamentally broken. Simultaneously, the left has contributed through proceduralism, or a fetish for process. What began as a noble movement in the 1960s to give citizens a voice against government overreach has mutated into a vetocracy. The system is now defined by layer upon layer of review processes and environmental impact statements. The National Environmental Policy Act, designed to protect the environment, now stands as a primary obstacle to building green energy infrastructure. Local groups can paralyze vital solar or wind projects with years of litigation over minor visual impacts. The paradox is absolute. An obsession with the process of decision-making has destroyed the ability to achieve an outcome. The right has fired the mechanics, and the left has written an instruction manual that makes it illegal to even open the hood of the car. The economic price of this polarization is measurable and massive. Research indicates that a significant increase in political polarization correlates to a decline in annual GDP growth of approximately 1.3 percentage points, the difference between a rising, optimistic economy and a stagnant one. Capital formation drops as businesses, fearing the chaos of gridlock and debt ceiling threats, hoard cash rather than investing in the future. The United States is generating its own internal stagnation, inflicting the kind of political risk usually associated with developing nations. In places like the Rust Belt, even if a miracle allows for bridge funding, sudden tariffs can spike material costs by 14% overnight, blowing the budget and canceling the project. This atmosphere of decay forces a reverse culture shock upon the nation's innovators. A young software engineer in Silicon Valley, returning from a tech hub in East Asia, finds her daily life a minefield of corporate mandates and political posturing. She feels the sting of losing ground as she compares the silent, flawless efficiency of high-speed rail abroad with a home subway system that smells of neglect. In the West, the pioneering spirit is smothered by internal policing and the steampunk mentality of science. Society has become obsessed with utilitarian, applied research that demands immediate returns, essentially polishing the brass gears of old ideas. By neglecting the high-risk, curiosity-driven basic research that gave us the internet and GPS, the nation is burning through the stockpile of knowledge generated by a previous era. The Prevent Woke AI executive order serves as a definitive example of the culture war crashing into technological progress. By mandating the removal of terms like climate science or systemic bias from federal AI training data to ensure ideological neutrality, the state creates factual blindness. An AI model tasked with predicting flood risks or managing power grids becomes dangerously incompetent when it is forbidden from acknowledging the physics of climate trends. This hard-coded denial makes critical infrastructure fragile and leaves federal systems vulnerable to adversarial data poisoning. While foreign powers flood the landscape with propaganda, a neutralized American AI, stripped of its ability to filter misinformation, treats enemy lies with the same validity as internal intelligence. This institutional rigidity is a hallmark of political decay. American governance has become a system of courts and parties rather than a competent administration. Disputed regulations are resolved through litigation rather than professional oversight, allowing small groups to grind national progress to a halt. This paralysis is fueled by the collapse of party discipline. With 50% of House seats won by margins of 30 points or more, the general election is a mere formality. Politicians fear only the most extreme 10% of their base in the primaries. Consequently, they engage in performative politics, creating viral clips for social media rather than legislating, leaving the country ungovernable and its laws subject to violent shifts based on the latest outrage. As the horizontal exchange of a healthy democracy, where citizens are equals before a neutral law, breaks down, society reverts to a vertical, feudal model. In this re-feudalization, safety and prosperity no longer depend on universal rights, but on personal loyalty to a powerful patron or political faction. This is the shift from citizenship to clientelism. It is exactly what the DC curator offered: a protection racket. He did not appeal to civic duty. He suggested that a donation could ensure the future welfare of a family. He recognized the vacuum left by a state that can no longer fix bridges, run schools, or provide a stable legal framework. Weary teachers, frustrated engineers, and terrified business owners, exhausted by the chaos, find themselves tempted by the administrative enthusiasm of a new, authoritarian order. They are being offered a software update that promises to remove the messy, inefficient bugs of democracy in exchange for submission. A civilization that consumes its inheritance without renewing it is a civilization in decline. The museum is open, the gears are rusting, and the new features of the state are simply more efficient ways to demand loyalty.